The America First movement is what gives me hope because then I'll hear some talks, that there'll be some cheers for Israel or whatever, and then I'll hear some speeches about how we need to stop these foreign wars and we need to focus on our problems at home. We need to
Right.
quit trying to, spread ourselves too thin and make enemies around the world. I'm like, yes, thank you. Let's stick
Right.
to this. I can get behind
Right.
this. Let's just
Right.
let's
Yeah,
just
the
stick
fact that
with
yeah,
staying at home.
right.
You
Right.
know.
So there is some incoherence, obviously there. This intellectual incoherence. But yeah, the fact that this, kind of America First idea resonates with people, I think that's real, and it could be the way out of the of Zionism somewhere down the road.
Right, that's what I'm hoping is that like
Right.
people
It's not-
let's make this the core of
Right.
whatever
Right. I think it's
whatever movement
I think-
that we're experiencing right now. Because
Right.
there
I
is
think
a
Zionism
movement.
is too powerful a force, especially like on the right in this country to attack it directly. I'll attack it directly, or other people will. But I think it's just like if you're at the level of, if you're a senator or a presidential candidate, you just can't take it on. But you can push an America First argument, and I think people will listen to that. And it's not saying, hey, I'm not anti-Israel, whatever. Yeah, it's the greatest country on earth or whatever. But America's first. This is our country, right? Mm-hmm. And we just can't get involved, and we just got to stop. We don't. Hey, we've got problems here. We can't keep on sending billions of dollars over there. And people respond to that.
It makes sense. It's just logical.
Right.
Everybody knows that things aren't going so well right now, so maybe we should focus on our problems here. People can see, the homelessness issues in their cities, fentanyl coming across the borders, the price of their Big Mac has gone up like double in the past 5 years, and it's clear that people know that there's a problem, and it just resonates when we say, hey, let's stop sending billions of dollars overseas and invest it here in America. So yeah, maybe we will see some changes. I feel like there is some type of new movement happening, and it was also interesting listening to some of these speeches at the RNC. It almost sounded like the progressives of the 60s and 70s. A lot of these were talking about like it doesn't matter the color of your skin or where you're from or what you do. We're based it on you work hard. The American dream. You can be whatever you want to be. Because it's a reach. They're playing on the rejection of identity politics, which is good. It's true. Identity politics is just racism, and is getting rid of merit and focusing on whatever equity goal they have in mind. And we're seeing it play out throughout everywhere, and everybody sees that it's a failure. We're seeing it just like we're just talking about the Secret Service. We got the head of Secret Service is Frito-Lay's woman. That is her main goal. One of her main goals she's stated is to make sure that 30% of Secret Service members are female, and it's like,
right?
Well, why?
Yeah. Well,
Secret Service members need to run alongside the car. They need to be tall to be able to shield and cover.
Well, yeah. Well, you saw that actually right there. I mean, there was that woman. Nobody's denigrating her bravery or anything. Clearly, she was very brave and she reacted correctly. But she was short. I'm sorry,
Right.
she was just too short. She couldn't
his
shield
head.
him.
Yeah, she's got to jump up and down. To try
It's
to
like
cover.
if that guy, if somebody was going to take another shot, it was going to be over her head because she could not shield him. Right?
No, yeah.
It was just silly to have somebody assign her to that detail.
Right.
I mean, there are probably other things that she could do, but just that was not. It made no sense to have her there. You needed big, tall guys, big, beefy guys. That's who you have to have around the.
Right.
The,
I mean, it's just
person.
kind of it's one of those things that I think has really expedited the incompetency and failure of all of our institutions. Is this push on DEI? I talked to my buddy that's in the National Guard as well. He was just saying like the standards now in the military are just abysmal. Like they had these I forget these different benchmarks, and basically they just got rid of them because the women couldn't reach them. So they just said, okay, well, we're just going to drop it all down. So now it's just and people can see it, and it just starts to create this rot inside all of these institutions. It's like, okay, well, good job. Now there are already maybe issues with incompetence, and now it's just
right.
It's a joke. Everybody knows it, and you're making the whole government just this one big joke, so you can get that perfect pamphlet picture of diversity, to show like, look, we did it. That doesn't represent reality at all. And at the end of the day, people just want somebody that is good at doing their job. And America is supposed to be a country where if you work hard and you're the best at what you're doing, then you will be rewarded for it. It shouldn't be that, oh, well, I'm belong to this class and I'm this combination of intersectional, whatever it is, and now I'm the best because I'm, Latino and black and gay and I'm gender fluid or whatever it is. You get the idea. I won't go too far.
We know. We all know. Right?
We all know. Everybody knows. It's just It's just gotten ridiculous. Okay, I'll pull it back before I get on a rant too much. But something that I've been thinking about as well, and I want your thoughts about it, is do you think that the fact that Trump really very narrowly missed death? I think I sent you that video of where you can see his head motion literally as it's going, and you can see the path where the bullet would have gone through his skull if he didn't turn. We're talking about milliseconds as he turned. So people say that the shooter was incompetent. The shooter would have killed him. It just happened.
Right.
It's really miraculous that Trump's not dead. So I think
so you actually get conspiracy theories on the other side of this, where people saying this was just like scripted. It couldn't actually be. It'd be so. Obviously they. I'm sorry, but explain to me how you could script this. I'm just you're gonna hit the
risky.
president's ear, right?
Pretty risky shot, right? But I think it's taking the world and the nation a little time to kind of realize and absorb what happened. We're just constantly being bombarded with this sort of terror and news porn with just constantly like, everything's on fire, and so I think it took a little while maybe for people to kind of digest what happened. I think it's going to take some time for Trump to digest how close he came to dying, and I think something like that will change a person, and I hope it changes somebody for the better. Like nobody, very, very, very few people have such a near life experience. But a lot of us have had near-death experiences. But a lot of us have had experiences in our life that changed the course of our life and been like, man, well, I shouldn't have done that. I need to stop drinking because I crashed my car. I could have killed somebody. I could have, these types of incidents. Right. This is something that is just incredibly real, and it's very, very public, and something that he has to be kind of reflecting on his life. And hopefully maybe this is too hopeful, maybe kind of think that maybe to understand the sanctity of life, and maybe that life is sacred, and we and us throwing these wars across the world, these are people too that have mothers and fathers and sons and daughters and brothers and sisters that we're killing in these pointless wars. And hopefully maybe he will have some kind of realization that like maybe he could be kind of more of a peace president. I hope so. I don't know. Maybe that's too much to hope for. Do you think there's anything there that you think that this near-death experience could potentially have changed things for the better? Or maybe made him like, I don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah, well, I can't say that can't happen. It certainly is possible, like you say. That could be a life-changing experience. But I'll be the cynic and say nothing. I expect nothing will change.
Or and maybe it'll make him the opposite, and he's just like,
that's
I really
not impossible
either.
He's
like, I'm invincible. I'm the man. He's just been, everything they throw at me, I just get stronger and stronger.
Makes me stronger, right?
So keep on trying to kill me.
I still think, there's. It's certainly not impossible. When it comes to the Ukraine war in particular, I wouldn't be too hopeful. I don't think anything significantly is going to change.
Don't really?
Yeah, I'm only going to change my assessment on that if he chooses the right people. Both in the I'm talking about both the Pentagon and the State Department. And if there is some, if he chooses people that are really in line with his let's say, certain statements that he's made about winding things down in Ukraine, if they're in line with that approach, then I'll believe it. I will. And until then, I'm just not going to. Now, I know that
I don't.
his
I
VP
think
pick,
right.
yeah, no, he's different. But the thing is, he's the VP. I mean, the fact is, I am impressed. He has said the right things in the past. He had that op-ed piece. He showed a real understanding of what was going on there. And again, that means something. I mean, I think Trump often has the right instincts, but he's just intellectually too lazy to actually be able to put together a real coherent argument. And I think that's one reason why he gets, fails to implement his policies, because he's surrounded by these guys who know how to manipulate him, and he doesn't have enough of a firm grasp, of the facts to really to tell him no. But clearly, his VP pick, J.D. Vance, does. He knows what's going on, and not only. Well, okay. Sometimes you find somebody who has an independent position, and then that person is picked to be the VP candidate, and then he changes overnight. He changes everything, and just kind of just to bring himself in line with establishment policy. He just very careful about what he says. But he went ahead with this. An op-ed piece in the Financial Times, where again he clearly strayed from orthodox opinion on
right.
Ukraine.
So you can tell us a little bit about that piece? He was saying something that Europe needs to prepare on how to, how they want to integrate Russia back into Europe or something like this.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
how
Something
to deal with Russia. This
Right.
war is going to end, and you're going to have to realize that you're going to have to work with them in some way, in some capacity.
Right. That's one thing. That's one very important point. The other thing is. He didn't go into it deeply, but he said, okay, the Europeans have this idea, or, we're hearing this claim that the Russians won't stop there and they'll be encouraged to go into other countries. He described that as a domino theory, which I think is a way of saying it's absurd, because the domino theory, I remember hearing that as a kid, actually, during the Vietnam War. It was used as a justification for the Vietnam War, and it just failed to be true. So I think he's basically saying the same thing. It's just like this fear of expansionist Russia is without foundation. He's for real, I think, on Ukraine. But the thing is that he's just vice president, and actually the vice president has basically zero power. It's just he's only there to step in for the president should something happen to him. And so but he may very well become president. I'm not predicting that Trump won't make it through his next term, his likely next term. But J.D. Vance will be very strongly positioned to run for president in 4 years from now. And if he's president, I believe that, hopefully the world is still here, and World War III hasn't broken out. He's capable. He understands the need for it, and he's capable of taking the steps to wind down the Ukraine war.
I think that the Ukraine war will wind down quickly once Trump's in. I know that you're much more skeptical, but it's not the Trump that we saw the first time around, where he just loaded his cabinet with neocons. He seems to be aware of it now, and then we see people that he's talking to and he's around. For example, I mentioned David Sachs, who's an avid listener of the Duran. He had him on his All In podcast, and he talked about it. And he stated multiple times that how he wants to end this war, and he needed that Zelensky and Putin need to sit down and negotiate. So I think that's true. And then you have him talking to people like Viktor Orban. He chose J.D. Vance instead of choosing a standard establishment neocon. He chose somebody that's actually
true.
pretty.
That's reason to be hopeful.
I think it's more
even
than
made
just
an old cynic like me rather hopeful.
Right.
But,
You're saying it went from 5 to 10%. I think the likelihood
I would stay with that. 10% is actually pretty significant.
You're an old dummy, because it's 50% at least.
All right.
I'm hopeful, but what scares me about Vance is I don't know if this is just rhetoric, because I listened to him talk at the RNC, this interview with Hannity. First of all, Hannity is Mr. Neocon 101. He loves Israel so much, and he just wants to blow up all the wars. He's always talking about our enemies and how we just got to destroy them. So he maybe Vance was playing to the audience because he knew who was watching this, So I understand that, but he did say like, look, we don't need to focus on Russia. We need to take care of ourselves, and we need to pull back and focus on China. That's what he said.
Right.
He said,
yeah,
China's
unfortunately,
our
we get
main
a lot
threat.
of people like that.
And then I was like, why?
Yeah.
Well, what's this obsession with China?
Yeah.
Why are we making China? This is, if you're going to make somebody your enemy,
right?
How about choose?
Right.
Go small. Start with Barbados or the Vatican City. Make those the enemies because they're small and we don't have to worry about it. Don't make China your enemy. Don't make anybody your enemy. But the idea of making China your enemy is just silly. So I hope that maybe when they get in power, they'll try to reframe that positioning instead of being adversarial militarily. Just be adversarial economically.
Right.
Be competitive. Yeah. Let's try to outcompete. And maybe we'll see some kind of revival in manufacturing in the United States, because that was something that they were talking about addressing, is to unleash American energy, begin to export energy, to bring back manufacturing base. And if that's what they're talking about, then okay, great, I can get behind it. But this idea of trying to gear up, spin up the military machine, and the other thing that I would say that gives me a little bit of hope is that I'd like to see what kind of cabinet position Vivek Ramaswamy gets in. Vivek
if he gets one, that would be very meaningful.
He keeps on saying he's going to
Right.
slash 75% of the government. He said he's just going to go through it and just gut entire departments, which is like, hallelujah! Please do that. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, he said a lot of things. So I mean, talking about Trump.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm a little bit more hopeful. I
think that, again, like I say, I am a little more hopeful, but I'm still pessimistic. It's true. Yeah, he talks to these people. He's friends with people who tell him the right things. But that was also true the first term. I mean, he's a friend of Judge Napolitano, for God's sake. And Judge Napolitano gave him, all kinds of advice.
Right, told him
like
to pardon Assange, and he said he would, and then he said, "Sorry, I can't do it."
Right. There's that, and he was close with Rand Paul. Truth be told, I think sometimes Rand Paul got through to him. I think like on Syria to some extent. But yeah, the thing is, it really depends on who he puts around him. I mean, he does talk, he's open to talking to these people who have dissident ideas and sensible. And I think that's like his natural tendency.
Yeah. He wants everybody to like him.
Yeah. So but the thing, if he assigns the same old people, then it's all over. We're going to get the same policies.
Just the fact that he picked Vance is a sign that he's not assigning the same people.
But we're not quite sure.
Pence.
But we're not quite sure why he did that. I think we're focused on Ukraine, but the electorate isn't. It's more about Rust Belt politics and working class politics, and Vance has a lot of appeal. I think he understands that he needs to win in places like Ohio and Pennsylvania, and Vance will help him do that. And to maybe get Wisconsin and Michigan like he did before. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I'm.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I shouldn't get optimistic because I'm always disappointed.
Right. That's the thing. Is my cynicism is born of a lot of. I've been through a lot of these election cycles, and there was always somebody who said something that was kind of exciting, and then it just that person got in power, you just never saw it change.
Well, the bar is so damn low right now that it's like you can't. It's how can we really do that much worse than what Biden's gotten us into so far, and it's just it's hard. I just don't understand where so many people on the left keep on touting all these victories of Biden. It's like what are you talking about? I mean, it's just more gaslighting. I think it's just like look, crime is low and inflation's dropping. It's like, what are you talking about? It's just.
I guess maybe the rate of inflation is. Yeah, maybe the rate of inflation.
Down,
but the prices are still double. I mean, for the kind of things that I buy, they're double of what they were, just a very few years ago, and it's making a difference in my life. I mean, I
right.
It's hard to hang on to dollars now.
Yeah, I bought my boy the off-brand Hot Wheels car today.
Yeah, there you go. Our special guest is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're over an hour. I think we can stop it here.
Sure.
Yeah, there's one. We'll leave it for next time. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's a good
Sounds
place to stop.
Okay. All right. Bye, Dad.
Bye.